How's it going, everyone? How are you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today, it's been a minute by the way, but today I am going over my mid-season review for Chelsea. This is part one of that review. I'm going to be going over what I consider the positives that we can take from the first half of the season, and then tomorrow I'll be going through part two, which would be the negatives / things we just need to work on. But today, like I mentioned, are the positives for this season. Positives that we can take away, and it's unfortunate that it took me a second to come up with the positives. I was kind of frustrated that I couldn't immediately think of a lot of these positives, but I tried. So, point number one, Mason Mount. He has emerged as one of not even one of our best player, period, this season. He's been our best player. He shows so much heart and he cares so much. You could see it in just the way he plays, the way he approaches these games, the work ethic he puts in. He clearly cares about this team. And I love that. I really love that. And it's pretty obvious that in the future, I could very easily see Mason being our team captain. Very easily. With the way he plays, the way he, like I said, the way he cares about the team, I could 100% see him becoming a captain later on. And he's just put in so much work this season. He takes criticisms all the time, but he just continues to work and work and work and work. And, you know, he doesn't always have a perfect game. No, he doesn't. No one ever is, right? Messi just got a freaking red card for Barcelona. Nobody's ever going to have a perfect game. But with all the criticism he takes, he still continues on, and I love him for that. He's definitely been a huge positive this season. Although last season he did have his breakthrough, but this season in particular for me, he's done really well. He's done really well. Now moving on, Champions League. We did well in the Champions League. We had a really tough group. I know a lot of people wrote off the competition we had in our group. You know, we should have came away with 6 wins or whatever, but that was a group of stiff competition. It really was. You can never count out Sevilla because they are one of the toughest sides to face alongside Valencia, in my humble opinion. And then you have Rennes and Krasnodar, especially Krasnodar, who just really emerged in the Champions League. And although the results didn't necessarily go their way, they really performed well every single game. They challenged the opposing team every single game. It was a tough group, and the fact that we came out of it with no losses it's huge. That was a really tough group, and we still managed to squeak by, get through it. Well, not necessarily squeak by, we actually did really well to get by and put away the teams we needed to put away, and sealed it with 5 games played. 5 games played. We sealed it emphatically too with that 4-0 win over Sevilla. So Champions League, we've done well. Obviously we have Atletico coming up, but this is talking about this last half of the season. We can talk about that one later because that's going to be a bit of a tough game. But regardless, I think UCL qualification for the round of 16 was a huge highlight. Now moving on, Thiago Silva seems like an absolute steal. Getting him in free agency, getting him on a free contract rather, or just a contract, huge. And he's had some down games, especially recently, but he's been a big part of our defense, and you could tell where the leadership comes in. You can tell where that experience comes in with these players. Defensively, like I said, recently we haven't been too great, but prior to our recent skid, we looked really good defensively. And I think a large part of that can go to Thiago Silva. He's been absolutely excellent this season. And I mean, I know when he first came in, I was a bit like, oh, he's 30. I mean, I love Thiago Silva, but I was like, he's 36. He's 36. Shouldn't we be going after someone younger? But it turns out experience kind of just trumps that youthfulness, although it would be nice. We did bring in Sar, but I don't think he's quite ready yet. And with Tomori Tomori leaving on loan, Thiago Silva is definitely gonna, I feel like, stay in that starting role for a while above, because I don't think Christensen can touch him. I don't think Rudiger can touch him. I feel like Zuma is the only center back that can realistically dethrone Thiago Silva from a starting center back position. So Thiago Silva looking like an absolute steal. Now, moving on to another player who, in my opinion, is a little overhyped. Callum Hudson-Odoi. I love him. Don't get me wrong. I like when he plays. I like watching him play. He's definitely one of our more solid players, especially this season. But I do feel that he has some things that he needs to work on. You know, his vision. I feel like is his biggest drawback for me. Holds the ball just a little too much and doesn't really recognize all the time where he needs to release the ball. And my thing is also he's played a lot of games coming off the bench against tired defenses, so that might have made him look good. I personally think he needs a starting run out over who, I'm not sure, because when Ziyech is heating up right now, Ziyech is really heating up, and Pulisic, I could see him coming in for Pulisic. I just feel like Lamp is trying to keep Pulisic in to try and give him that potential run of form. But regardless, Callum, hudson-odoi, probably top 3, definitely top 5 best player in our best player list this season. He's definitely been up there. He's been a bright spark for us when we've needed it at times, and I just want him to show up in big games. That's my thing. Is I want hudson-odoi to show up in big games. I want him to get the opportunity to show up first of all, and then potentially, you know, grab that game winner that we need, you know. So I want him to show up more like that before I really get on the hudson-odoi bandwagon. With that being said, though, his English teammate, Rhys James, we saw him last season. Rhys James has been absolutely great. He did not have the greatest game against Leicester, but he has been definitely one of the brighter sparks as well for this team. Definitely, I think I'd put him in the top 5 of our players as well. He's been great. He's been great for us. His crossing ability, his defensive ability could use some tuning, don't get me wrong. He's not the greatest defensive right back out there, but offensively he's amazing, and he's definitely been one of our better players this season. I kind of start to feel like he's a freaking right winger. He should be playing right winger, but like I said, he does need work defensively, but he does do well when he does well. If that makes sense. Now moving on to another player that we signed in, Edouard Mendy. Now, a lot of people recently have been giving him a lot of criticisms, comparing him a lot to Kepa and stuff. I really don't think so. A lot of the goals that have been getting scored on Mendy recently have been because he's been left out to dry. Has he made a couple mistakes in the process? Yes. But a lot of them are just him getting left out to dry. You know, our defense just crumbles and it's a 1-on-1, 2-on-1. Not really anything he can do in those situations. So I would not go as far as to compare him to Kepa, because Kepa made a lot of mistakes on shots. It was to the point where teams literally started shouting shoot because Kepa was in goal. That sucks. But Mendy coming in was huge for us. He's huge. He just creates this sort of solidity in defense. He brings a sort of calmness in defense, this consistency that we needed, and he's definitely an improvement on Kepa. He's definitely an improvement on what we had before. He doesn't make nearly as many mistakes, and he just constantly gets left out to dry by our defense. That's one of the main reasons why he gets scored on. You know, I think it's like 13 in the last 7 or something. I don't remember the actual statistic of how many goals we got scored on, but he's been left out to dry a lot recently, and he's taking a lot of the blame. And I think that's unfair, incredibly unfair. He's done really well. He's made a lot of amazing saves recently. Leicester, he made like 4 great saves to keep the score at 2-0. Could have easily been like 4 or 5 if he hadn't made a couple of saves throughout that game. Crucial saves throughout that game. So he's definitely been an improvement on our goalkeeping situation. And I think he should be our first string keep for the time being. Now moving on to our 17 game unbeaten run. I'm considering this a positive and also negative, but I'll touch on that tomorrow. For the positives, big confidence, right? You don't lose. When you don't lose, you feel good. You feel that confidence. There's a team synergy. You guys are just flowing. You feel that chemistry, right? And you felt that in the 17 game unbeaten run. There were a lot of smiles, a lot of happiness, a lot of just free-flowing football. And that also ties into my other thing of, we saw what we were capable of in this first half of the season. We're capable of playing some great counterattacking football when we want to. And during that 17 game unbeaten run, we saw several instances of us just playing some free-flowing, solid football where we just looked good. We weren't just trying to cross the ball every 2 seconds. No, we were actually trying to pass and breach and get through the middle and break down their defense through passes and doing all this stuff. We looked very good during that 17 game unbeaten run at times. Now, there were certain things that we did need to work on, but we did show flashes of what we are capable of. We showed flashes of how high our ceiling is. Now, moving on to Giroud and Abraham. I put a question mark next to them for a reason. The problem is with them is consistency. You know, Giroud has a lot of goal scoring spurts, if I can say that correctly. Goal scoring spurts where he just likes to score in these short bursts. But he's not as mobile as a lot of our other strikers. He's not as mobile as Tammy. He's not as mobile as Werner, and that's where it can hinder our attack a lot because he is built around that target man mentality. You know, cross it into Giroud, he'll head it in the goal, that mentality. Whereas Abraham can do that, and he's also a lot more mobile. However, Abraham is not as consistent. So it's a sort of balance between these two. Obviously, Timo has not been great this season, so Giroud and Abraham have had to step up. But I feel like they more than answered the call when we needed their help, when we needed them to step up. They've stepped up at multiple points throughout the season. And most namely, Giroud, when he scored 4 goals against Sevilla to secure the round of 16 qualification, they've stepped up. And that is a huge part of why we've found some relative success during this first half of the season. Now, finally, the final point for me, one of the final positives, I could be missing some. I genuinely really tried to think of positives, and it's a little difficult. But I feel like this was a big one. And that is we are starting to put away smaller sides more consistently. And by smaller, I mean teams that are below us in the table. We've been putting them away on a pretty consistent basis recently. Obviously, we've had some struggles against teams above us, but below us, we are actually putting away these teams compared to last season where we were just giving up points left and right to these teams that were below us in the table. This season has been different. We've been actually beating these lower sides consistently and taking away 3 points, or at least a point from the game. Not losing, not really getting upset too often. We're beating these sides that are lower than us in the table, and we're doing it on a more consistent basis. Now, like I said, I could be missing some positives. I tried thinking, I really did, and I just got stuck. So I decided to go with what I had. And if you can think of any other positives for Chelsea this season, positives, let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, go check out the socials in the description. My Twitter and Instagram are both down there. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, go check out the socials in the description. Please share socials with your friends, family, everybody know. Let the people know Blue Hermit's where it's at, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.